we now see what is server action in Nest.js. So before seeing it, we should see some basic things which we already seen. So we can use client component in server, but we can't use server component in client, and we can pass our server component to client as prop or children. So how we do means, in a page or a layout which is a server, then we import both client and server component, then we pass our server component to client as prop or children to the client component. So before doing this, we should be aware that we don't have any sensitive information in server, because that will be used in client when we pass server component to client. We also use server only package to prevent any import of server component into client. So we just refresh these things. Now we see what is server action. So we are passing props from one component to another, like client to client or server to server or server to client, but we should not use client to server, because when we use client to server, we are importing the client component, then only we can render the client component inside, render the server component in the inside client, and we can pass props, but we will not use that. So client to server we will not use. So other three options are there, that is client to client. So when we pass any props to client, it is normal, it is basic React. We can pass serializable values like string, integer, objects, anything we can pass, and non-serializable values like functions also we can pass. In the same as server, we can also pass any data between server component and server component, but when we pass data from server component to client component, it should be serializable, that string, the integer, object, that things. But functions we are not able to pass from server component to client component. We can see what error we get. So this is the server component and this is client component. So we create a function here, data function, and inside the function we just console log some value. Now we import our client component, that is header. Now we pass our data function to client component. So we use effect to run this function. So now we save. Now we see our page. We are getting a error. What error means? I already told that we can't pass it directly to client component unless you explicitly mark it as use server. So this is where server action comes in place. So we need to use server. So server actions are basically asynchronous function that are executed on the server, but we can use server actions in server and client components. We mostly use server actions in form submissions, or we can use in non-form elements like use effect, because basically it is a function, so we can use anywhere in our application. Also we can mutate data in server action. So to create server action there are two ways, that is we create a file and inside the file we have the server action, or we can directly create inside our server component. So let's see one by one. So first I create inside the server component, so we need to use async function data function, and inside we need to use server, and inside we are consoling the same thing, data. Now we are passing this function. Now we see what happens. Now everything works fine. Now just see the console log. It is server action, it will execute in server, so we can see the value here. So now we can pass functions from server to client component. So this is function method, so we can directly use server in separate file. So I just remove this, then we create a file called actions under component, and inside we use modular our use server, and again same thing, we need to create a async function data function, and inside we console log the data. Now we need to import it. Now we can pass successfully. Now we can see we are getting the data. So these are two ways we can use server action, and we can also pass we can use server action to submit form submissions. So how we can do means, first we need to see the behavior of server action. So let's see the docs. So server action can be used in form submission inside the action attribute, and then we can directly submit form inside server component even if the JavaScript is not loaded. So this one advantage server action has. If we disable the client side JavaScript, the form will be submitted. In client side there will be a queue submissions if JavaScript is not loaded yet. And we can also use form we can also use server actions inside form use effect and other libraries or other nested elements inside form like button. And server action is catched, so when we invoke the action, Nest.js will return the updated UI and the new data in a single server round trip. And behind the scenes, server action use post method. So this is the only method it use to send data, and the value is be serialized. The return value of server action will be serialized, and we can use anywhere in our application. And we can also use route segment config. So let's see example of server action. Now we create a basic setup. So I just remove these things. So inside we create a function level server action, create use server, and we just create a basic form, and inside the form we have some input type text, name input 1, and inside we have input text, name input 2, and we have a button, submit type submit, and inside the action we need to pass our server action, that is create. Now when we use server action inside form, we get the form data prop. So we can use the form data to get our values from our form, right? For example, data equal to input 1, then we can use form data dot get. We need to use the key, that is name. So input 1 and input 2 form data dot get input 2, right? We can do whatever we want, so we get all the values of our form by form data. So this is how we use server action. Then we can also pass argument to server action. So how we do means, so for example if we are importing a server action, so let's consider we have already a server action called create from components slash actions. Then how we need to proceed means, we need to use the bind method. So inside we need to use bind method. So updated create. So we need to use our server action, that is a function dot bind. Then we are not going to pass any this argument, so which will be used inside the function to target the values, but we are not using here, so we use null. And the argument we are going to pass, so if you have any id or a name, we can pass here. And we need to use this updated create inside our server action, inside our action attribute. Now finally in our actions we need to get the value. So the value we passed is id and name. So id, name, then our form data, usual form data. So this is how we pass parameter to server action. So we can avoid errors in server action by wrapping it with try catch. So try catch. So inside the catch we can do our error and ring, and inside the try we can set what this function will do, or we can mutate our data using revalidate tag. Like that we can mutate our data. Also we have three things, three roots we can use with server action, that is use form status, and another one is use form state, and another one is use optimistic. So these three things you can refer in dots because they have good documentation in Nest.js server action. So you can see in the example they are using the use form status and use form state. All these things they have examples, you can refer the dots. Then what another thing we can use server action means, we can use in event handlers. So for example in this example under the train component they are importing to server action, and inside the form they are using the text area and the on change. So inside the on change they are passing a server action, they are creating a server action, that is async and the event and await save draft. So this is the server action and this is also a server action. So we can use our server action like this inside event handlers, or we can use inside use effect. We already seen that inside we are using use effect. So and we can use try catch. So I already told we can use mutate data, we can do mutation using server action like revalidate tag or revalidate path. like that. They also have some additional examples like setting to keys and the security authorization process and encryption and allowed all genes. So all these things they have examples. You can refer these additional things, but the main concept is I told in the tutorial, that is main concept about server action. We can pass functions from server to client component using server action. So this is the main component. So main thing why we are doing server action means because we can't directly pass function because it is not a serializable one when we pass from server to client. So we use server action to make our thing works properly.